So in today's video, I'm going to discuss about how to get promoted to a full professor. Now the interesting thing is that when I was a UG student, I never knew what exactly is a full professor, an assistant professor, an associate professor, because we used to think that all the teaching faculty are essentially professors. Now when I went to graduate school, I realized that there is a lot of difference between these particular grades, and this I came to know through the dynamics which exists between these particular groups. And then I started to wonder, if there's something known as full professor, then what exactly is the percentage or fractional professorship which is held by the associate and assistant professor? Maybe it is one third and two third, or maybe it is quarter and a half. So again, these are debatable points, so I will leave those things at this point. And let us look at the point about getting promoted to full professor. And typically this happens when you are an associate professor. You probably put in 5 to 6 years of service, and then you come up for this promotion to the full professor grade. Now again, just like in the case of the first promotion to associate professor, three things are particularly important for this promotion, and these are papers, projects, and PhDs, the three P's. One more thing which becomes important in this grade is the contribution or impact your work has made on the field. So the I word is very often used in terms of impact of your work. So this becomes particularly important at this stage because you have been in a steady state for a long time now. So when you come into the university as an assistant professor, typically it takes you a couple of years to settle down. You have to figure out how to teach, you have to figure out the dynamics of the university system, get some research grants, get your first PhD students. They need to take some courses because before they become productive and so on. So again, there is some level of momentum you need to gather in terms of starting your work as an assistant professor. And by the time you have got promotion to associate professor, you have already come with this momentum. So by this time, you probably have a lab of a few PhD students. You have some research grants which are in the system, and you may be writing more proposals for your future work. And also, you would have published several papers in the field. So let us now look at what exactly you need to do in the next 5 years to get your next promotion. So I would say let's look at each of these things, papers, projects, and PhDs one by one. So I would say as far as papers are concerned, here now you have a more variable bound. I would say I have seen people with 10 to 50 papers who are typically promoted. And here the lower number is for people who may be in disciplines such as mechanics, where it is more hard to publish, or in mathematics. And then the higher numbers such as 50 would be in fields such as material science or chemistry, which are more fertile fields, and typically thinner papers are published, and there is a more of a culture of publishing, a plethora of publications on various topics. So again, this is highly field dependent, but I would say that a 10 journal paper situation is a minimum, because you don't want people to say at this point that the candidate does not have a good work culture or is indolent in his behavior. Now, of course, at this point, you are also supposed to have a set of PhD students, and these PhD students are going to contribute towards this publication. So there are cases where this lower bound may go up to 15 journal publications in many technology driven fields. But I think the higher bound should be kept at 50, because if you exceed much more than 50, then again the problem of the law of large numbers starts coming in, and people will question the quality of your work, because typically the selection committee and promotion committee people are unwilling to believe that people have actually published more papers than they have done during this particular period. So most people would probably have published 15 papers or 20 journal papers at a maximum during their second round promotion. So if you have come up with something like 70 papers, these people would be quite scandalized, and there will be consternation in the promotion committee, which you want to prevent. Now, if we look at projects again, the monetary value of the projects becomes more important now rather than the number of projects. And also the quality of the people who have funded you becomes very important. So if you have received funding from the top national foundations in science and technology or in different areas, then it is very good. Also the prestige of the different grants you have obtained in terms of international bodies or well-known foundations becomes very important. Again, remember that delivery remains critical as far as projects are concerned. So while you should take up as many projects as is feasible, you need to keep in mind that you need to deliver on these projects. And while the department chair, dean, and university president would like to get as much money from you as possible because they are keeping a nice chunk of the money for the university, you need to keep in mind that the delivery is your concern and this is not something which they need to do. So again, keep in mind that if you do not deliver well on the projects, then that news would spread through the grapevine to your network and the network may not be very pleased about your performance. Now, sometimes people say that now that you are an associate professor, people know you and so it is very easy to get published and it is also very easy to get new research grants in terms of proposals and so on. But I would say that actually the reverse can be the case in many situations. Now that so many people know you and you are a reasonably established player, you have to be more careful in terms of the publications which you have. So you may have to answer questions like why are you doing all these simple problems? Why don't you do the very difficult problems in the field and so on? And also why you are submitting to a reasonable journal or to a normal quality journal. You should be aspiring for the top journals of the field. But at this point, you should remember that you need to follow the middle path because it's not just your career and your ego which is an issue here. The students also need to publish papers and they also need to graduate. So there needs to be a mix between the level of sophistication and difficulty of the problems and also the problems which can get published and create some more PhD students for you and also get the problems done. Now let's come to the third issue, which is the PhD students. So again, for PhD students, now you are in a steady state. So I would expect that you probably have 3 or more PhD students in your lab. And typically at this point, many people may have 3 to 10 PhD students in their lab, if not more. And so what you should do is you should now slow down on the PhD student graduation rate. So essentially you can take a more hands-off approach to your PhD students and let them figure out more of the problem. So I actually find that the students of more senior faculty tend to do a large amount of the research work themselves, and therefore these people are better trained in some ways than people who have graduated with the young faculty. So of course this is a generalized remark, it may not be true for every case, but it is often the case that since the student is now marinating more, he is probably going to be more mellowed down by the research and probably will have to discover his own research problem and solve his own research problem with very little help from the supervisor. So this often helps in doing independent research when the student goes out and gets a faculty position of their own. Now, beside these 3 issues, you are of course going to be called for service and administration to some extent at this point. So again, remember that whenever you are called for service on committees and for administration, try to link these jobs to your skills. So for example, if you are a person from civil engineering department, try to get involved with different building construction issues or road building issues or things like that. If you are a person from medical school, you may want to get involved in the health center. If you are a person from the kinesiology department, then maybe you can get involved in the gym or in yoga classes and so on. So these are some things to keep in mind. Also, this is a very good time to learn about finance because what you will see as you shift from associate to full professorship is that you need to know a lot about budgets, you need to know a lot about legal aspects, about psychology, about the aspects about managing people and so on. So as you get into administration, you need to learn about budgeting. There are going to be various issues regarding committees where you may be placed in, where you have to look at issues of employees as well as students in the university, because typically a lot of the administration function of universities are performed by the faculty. And this is also something I did not know when I was an assistant professor, but later you come to know some of these things. Now, as far as impact is concerned and contribution, I think here the fellowships of academies are very important to show the impact you have made. So, try to go for fellowships of national academies of engineering or sciences or social sciences, as the case may be. Look for fellowship of professional societies such as IEEE, SIAM, APS, and so on. If the fellowship is not possible, many of these societies have associate fellowships or senior member programs which you can apply for. Go for session chair and also become part of technical committee in the important conferences in your field. Also try to become selection committee member in faculty committees as well as in fellowship committees and so on. So this will help you to expand your network, and as your network expands you will get more and more knowledge about referees. So again you are going to require these 10 to 15 referees in the field, and then the dean or is going to probably select a small set from here. So again you need to be ready with this name. Now awards are something you can also aspire for at this stage, and if you have done a phenomenal job you can become a candidate for many prizes in the field. Also, this is a good time to go for a sabbatical. So again, you not only can go to a sabbatical to a top research university and work with some of the top people in the field, maybe people who have won medals and prizes and are established doyens in their field. You can also look at these bodies such as Fulbright, Humboldt, Japan Society of Promotion of Science, DAAD from the German system. All of these give fellowships for sabbaticals. So essentially you can get these fellowships and go for sabbaticals, and the advantage of this is that the particular professor at that university does not have to fund you, and you can actually get paid for your sabbatical. So this will be very beneficial to you. Besides this, also look at summer visits during your time here. So you can visit many universities and national lab in summer and do collaborative research there. One of the advantages of doing collaborative research is that typically this kind of research is high in impact. So when people of different countries or different universities get together and publish papers, it has been found that these papers are cited more substantially. And again, at this point, you can start writing some papers with different people in different universities, but keep it a point that most of your papers are written with the PhD students, because again, there are going to be some people in the promotion committee who will peruse your CV carefully and check the names of the different people with whom you have written papers, and people like to see at this point that you are still writing papers largely with your PhD students, because again these are the students who are graduating from the university, and it is important that the quality of these students should be good. One of the ways to measure the quality is through the journal papers. Now if you look at the political aspects here, be friendly with the chairman and the dean, with the senior colleagues in the department. Now, I know it is difficult for many scientific and engineering people to be very friendly. So at least I would say do not try to be a jerk, an obnoxious person and so on. So again, if you have a typical case of narcissism, and also because you have published too many papers and got some prizes, there may be a growth of megalomania in you. Try to restrain these, try to control these as much as possible, maybe get into meditation and yoga. These can also help in controlling too much high level of narcissism and megalomania. Now finally, remember that keep your CV global, go to the conferences around the world, publish papers around the world, because you do not want to become too associated with any particular region or country. And also you may want to expand beyond one professional society at this stage. So typically I would say if you are a technology person and you have been going into only one type of conference, you may want to expand it out slightly and see if you can go to some nearby bodies. So if you are a person in the computing field, maybe you can go into something to do with the SIAM conferences in mathematics. So maybe you can start expanding your field and discovering some synergy between two fields, because that helps you become a better researcher. Finally, while you are doing all these things, keep an eye on your CV and keep it marketable in an international sense. So this is very important, because this also helps you become more marketable in your local university. And if you keep an eye on your CV and make sure that your CV would be having traction throughout the world, then you will also get this particular promotion. And even if you do not get this promotion, you are not probably going to be thrown out of the university, but you may feel very down, and then you can apply to some different university and go off there. So remember that as long as your CV is good, you can probably get a job somewhere else, or even you can get a job in a company, or you can even launch a startup because you would have the confidence of a good CV. So again, these were some of my ideas as far as promotion to full professorship is concerned. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned to my channel. Thank you very much.